Hello there. Welcome to From the Table Podcast, a podcast brought to you by Martin First United Methodist Church. In this episode, we speak with Reelfoot Rural Ministries volunteers Greg Moore, Russ Gilliam, and Justin Crice. They speak of past and present duties as they have been involved in Reelfoot Rural Ministries, what the nonprofit does for their surrounding areas, particularly Lake County, Obion County, Dyer County, and Fulton County. We listen to their stories of real people, and we share together the ways that we can move forward and make room in the inn. Thanks for listening, and this is the conversation from the table.
Welcome to From the Table, Episode 4. Today we are here with Russ Gilliam, Dr. Greg Moore, and Justin Crice. How are y'all doing tonight?
Good.
Wow. Hey, thanks. We're great.
Good. Alrighty, so they are volunteers for Reelfoot Rural Ministries. So just kind of introduce yourself. Russ, you go ahead, go first. Just introduce yourself and just what you do for Reelfoot Rural Ministries.
Good. Thank you for having us. I run or do the vision clinic, the optometrist at the vision clinic. It's the McCord Vision Clinic. A couple from Milan, Dr. Thomas McCord was an optometrist there, and he passed away several years ago, and his wife has donated money over the years to have established a vision clinic. And that's a long story there, but we've been doing it since 2011, early 2011, and I go there about 8 times a year.
What is the, before we go around, I had a question. Because I always just assumed you went to the site of Reelfoot Rural Ministries. Is that what you do?
Yeah, that's what we do.
Okay.
So
but it's on behalf of McCord's.
Years ago, I did some work with Reelfoot back in the 90s when I worked at Walmart in Union City. And then, do we go ahead and tell you how it started?
I have that in a second.
All right.
Yeah. But you chime in then. Okay, I didn't know that.
Alrighty.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Would you like to go, Greg?
Well, I'm a general dentist at Reelfoot Rural Ministry. The program over the last couple of years has grown a lot, and there were 8 volunteers that were there, and we were servicing the clinic, an acute emergency clinic, about 15 to maybe 20 times a year. But now I'm there twice a week, and I'll share with you later some of the things that we're doing and how it's changed over time.
All right.
Yeah, and I used to work at Reelfoot Rural Ministries for a year. The first year we lived in Martin, I was the volunteer services coordinator. That position right now is filled by Mark Besant, and just really love the ministry there that still is ongoing and will be ongoing probably until the end of my days. It started in 1963. This ministry did, so it has a lot of longevity.
And y'all are representing Reelfoot Rural Ministries, and this podcast here is the end of our Advent series of podcasts where we're doing this series called Room in the Inn, Housing the Holy, and trying to find ways, how does that look here in Martin and in our surrounding areas, and what does that mean for us? What does that mean for Reelfoot Rural Ministries? What does that mean for us gathered here and those part of this church and those who listen that have an obligation to our community, and this is an avenue where our community can help, just like y'all are. So I wanted to get us going with just the history of Reelfoot Rural Ministries. Dr. Gilliam, you've already spoken to knowing kind of some of the beginnings of it, and anyone can share this. How did Reelfoot Rural Ministries get started? Where did the idea, where did the need come from to have this place?
Well, it came out of a Sunday school class that Hilda McKinney and Tenny Butler were attending together, and they saw the needs of the community. And they first really started taking clothes and providing meals and doing lessons for people in the community there. And I've always heard it was Elbridge, and then they started to look for another facility, and they found Mooring Methodist Church, which had recently closed in the 1960s. And then, there was an assignment there. There was a deaconess, Pauline Precise, was sent there. And, for a long time, that ministry was mobile around the area in the Reelfoot Lake area. And then they finally built a permanent structure out on Minnick Elbridge Road, which Greg knows that commute, and so does Russ a lot. It's out there on the bluff, as they say, on the hill, that's in Obion County, but serves Lake, Obion, Dyer, and then Fulton County, Kentucky.
Alrighty, so for my question, and anybody can answer this, so don't feel like this is going to one person, this is anybody. What do you feel like are the immediate needs of Reelfoot Rural Ministries, and what are the ways that people, anybody, from this church, anywhere, can just help there?
The dental program that we're working, a couple of years ago, Reelfoot Rural Ministries became the benefactor of some financial support. And it was one of about 12 or 13 dental clinics. It's now grown to 18 nonprofit dental clinics across the state. But there are only 3 in West Tennessee, 2 in Shelby County and 1 at Reelfoot Rural Ministry. And what happened to expand the program so much was that prior to that, the dental clinic was an acute emergency care. It was open 2 Fridays a month. And the first time I ever went there in 2009, and we walked in, I was just overwhelmed. There were probably 30 people lining the hallway.
Yeah.
And we walked into the dental clinic, and I just thought, how in the world will we ever take care of these folks today?
Right.
Well, and so this need had continued, but about 2 years ago, there was money that was granted to Reelfoot Rural Ministries to expand the clinic. Delta Dental of Tennessee Insurance Company has a philanthropic arm called Smile 180. They supported Reelfoot Rural Ministry and provided money for infrastructure, new equipment, and expansion of the clinic. And then there was other money that was coming in that decreased the cost of services. So what we were seeing in the first 10 years that I was volunteering at the clinic, most of the people were coming there were in acute pain or infected. And so you were removing teeth. That's about all you were doing. And 2 years ago, we were able to expand the clinic in a way to where we could begin to restore some folks with dentures and partials. And one of the greatest, encouragement to me was one of the first folks that we made a denture and partial for on the last day that we saw him there, and we were through with our work. I said, well, what are you doing from now? And he says, I start a job on Monday.
Wow.
So, some of these folks who were so self-conscious about not having any teeth, and they just kind of were on the margins or in the shadows and afraid to really function directly in public, that has enabled some of these folks to have a little bit more confidence and self-esteem and to get back into the main public.
Dr. Gilliam, what would you say that you've had a similar experience from the side of eye care at Reelfoot?
You see these people that are in between. They're in the middle. Sometimes they're caught. They just don't have the money,
Right.
to afford it. So, you see people, and there's men's groups that come, halfway type of houses, sheltered women. But there's people that are looking for jobs. They just, I remember one that she was applying for a job at a convenience store, and she goes, I just can't see the register. So you have a lot of people that are just kind of in between, and it's a good feeling. I mean, it's a good feeling.
Justin, speaking to, because you said, you say your title that you served there.
Yeah, I was a volunteer services coordinator. I guess about 4 years ago is when I ended that.
Yeah.
So it's been a while. It hasn't felt that long, but it's been a while.
What did it look like serving in that role?
Yeah, there was a number of things we would do. We would do home repair ministry. We ended up updating the dorm while I was there to make it more accessible for teams coming in to do home repair. And we would have teams come from Oklahoma, from Missouri. You'd have teams from Kentucky, the Southeast, would come and spend about a week there, and it's not easy work all the time.
Yeah. Right.
And so we would do that, and then I was in charge of the food ministry, the food pantry there.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was there, we started getting USDA food, and we just started that, and so that was a good program.
Mm-hmm.
And folks can come from the area, from the counties that are served, the 4 counties, once a quarter. And I'm not sure if that frequency is still the same, but folks would usually come. Tyson would donate sausage from their New Bern facility that we would pick up a lot. There was always churches that would fill the need in the area. The lay people of the conference and the district, Mississippi River District, would oftentimes hear the call, and a lot of folks have annual donations and offerings that they take up for Reelfoot, and some of that money goes towards all of their ministries, but some of it went through the food ministry that I was a part of. And then at the end of my time there, I got to help a little bit in the dental clinic, and volunteer. And as Dr. Moore said, it was a vast need in the area, and I'm really excited to hear how that has progressed under his leadership and Robert Craig's leadership as the executive director.
Mr. Glenn Hudson, who was with us last week, said something, and he said, I wish I would have said this while we were talking. He said, I worked a job, the same job, for 42 years. And he said, I've been at We Care, and I can't recall how many years, but it was around a decade or more. And he said, I can't tell you how much more fulfilling it is to see what you're doing at We Care Ministries. Not that his job, not that he would have said his job was not doing, good for the world, but that when you're placed in an environment where you feel people's gratitude for you being there, and for the simple things sometimes that you do, and even on the days where it becomes really hard to go there, wherever there is, and then you have that person that just, you can tell you've made a world difference to their life, and you reflect back on, I'm so glad I went through that mental mindset of, I'm not sure if I'm going to do this. Those stories, those moments you create in your head, those real people with real stories that you get to see every time you serve them, and it makes the difference, and it goes along with what Pastor Amanda is talking with, and what the church is going through in this series of Room in the Inn, and about this week she spoke about love and this generous outpouring, this ability to, as human beings, to affect one another with the most powerful force that we could move the world with, which is love. It's the most powerful force.
Right.
And I hear that in what y'all are saying. I hear it, in what volunteers at We Care were saying last week. And it's powerful. It's powerful not only to be people who are serving, but it's powerful for people that need to hear from people who are serving, and moves us. I mean, it really does. It moves us to change, to reflect, to discern how we can be involved, how we can help And so just a word of gratitude for y'all saying that.
You know, to add to that, one of the great things about that ministry is there's no strings attached. You know, they come in. I don't proselytize anybody. You know, sometimes I'll say a prayer, you know, if it comes about that's a need, but no one's preached to, no one's has to sit through a sermon. It's just pure love and just pure giving, and that's what makes it so pure.
Right.
I've got to share something with y'all as far as the influence of a person to guide somebody toward ministry. I'd known about the Reelfoot Rural Ministry Dental Clinic, but, you know, I thought, too busy. I don't have time. Somebody else can do it.
Yeah.
I live too far away. And there was a member of this church, Dr. Gordon Morris, who called me one day and he said, I'm serving on the board at Reelfoot Rural Ministry, and they've started a dental program, and I would like to invite you and your brother to ride with me over there and look at this new clinic. I said, yes, I'd love to ride with you over there. So we take a trip, see the clinic. I don't know if it was that night or the next day, my brother and I talked, and I said, we've got to go there.
Yeah.
Right.
So, you know, this man, just because of his love, helped to open our eyes to this ministry. Well, and, you know, I don't go there to be told thank you.
Right.
But I've told other people that in the 2.5 years that I've been there a couple of days a week, I've been told thank you by people who are living on the edge of our community more than I've been told in 36.5 years in for-profit dentistry.
Wow.
So, you know, and these are people who don't have what we take for granted.
Right.
And, you know, to be given a hug, to be told thank you.
Yeah.
I had a lady that brought to the clinic, and she said, I want you to have this. It was a Jewish prayer shawl that she had come by. And, I mean, I don't know. I mean, when your heart is filled with that opportunity, it keeps you going back.
Well, and I think that we all, and you shared, you know, your story of denying, you know, should I go there or not, and making up excuses. And I've done the exact same thing over 100 and 1,000 of things. And I think some of it is because we become so complacent with our lives, and we think, well, someone's going to do it.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, doesn't have to be me. So I know it'll get met. It doesn't have to be. Doesn't have to be me.
Kind of like I was learning about this actually, sociology. I think it was like called like bystander effect or something like that. I don't know. I just thought about it and I was like, because you'll think somebody else is gonna do it.
Right.
Like somebody could be in like some kind of danger or something, and then they'll be like, oh, I bet somebody else has already done it, you know, because it's such an emergency, such a need.
Right.
And it was, you know, I mean, that's what everybody thinks, is that you'll think somebody else will do it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, sometimes that's not the case, you know.
No, I think most of the time it's not, because we have people that are within an hour reach of us.
Right.
We have people 2 miles from us right now that wish we knew. No one signed up for it.
Yeah.
No one did it. You know, someone on the street that you can apparently see that they're not they're not trying to get some kind of gain out of it. They're literally on the street for a good reason, and you pass by them and you think, well, someone's gonna
somebody's gonna do it.
Someone's gonna take care of that. Or a concern in a bulletin or a message that goes across your social media feed or through messages. And you go, well, someone will look after that. Yeah.
Well, I'm the opposite of Dr. Greg because I was asked by Reverend Michael Blake, who was the former director, and he said something, whispered in my ear one time, I know somebody that'd like to give money to start a vision clinic. And I'm like, good. Would you like to do it? I don't know. And he was persistent. And finally, we decided we were going to get it done. And I started calling around and getting some equipment. And we were able to buy some equipment with what the McCords had given. Mm-hmm. And even got it where we brought it and put it in a room. And then back in 2010, I had some life changes, and I just ignored it. And I ignored it for a year. Luckily, Dr. Tom Manning, who was from Dyersburg at that time, he came in, and Michael had talked to him. Would you like to help Russ? Because we knew each other. Mm-hmm. And so for the first 8 years, Tom Manning and I would alternate months. But it was one of those persistent things. Mm-hmm. And, it wasn't time for me. But, it was one of the best things I ever did, though, once I finally made that commitment. But it was hard to make that commitment because it's I'll say something later, but it's a drive. Mm-hmm. It is a drive.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We play there. The basketball team, Bulldogs at Gleason, they play at Lake County every year. Used to be in our district. They're not this year, but we still went there. So, but yeah, from Gleason to there, it's really a drive. Long drive. Because you got to go through here, you got to go through Union City.
And 4 years ago, I guess, Justin, we met you at the food bank in the storage area, and boy, getting there with a church bus. You learn to take the sharp turn sign very seriously.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and Kadin was a lot shorter then. So.
I sure was. It wasn't this tall at all.
No, for sure. No, it's well positioned, though, I think. And one thing I wanted to hit on before we, so we do hit on it, is the self-sufficient thrift store that they have out there. And, you talk about needs right now with all that's going on in our region with the tornadoes, from the long track one up in Mayfield, that hit part of Lake County and Sandburg.
Right.
And then from the one that went from New Bern all the way through Weakley County, where we're sitting right now, and hit Dresden and Kenton. This is something that they do year round with taking people's donations, and then they have a store and they price it, and all that money goes to support the thrift store and their staff. And it's a really great ministry because folks from the area can really come get quality goods that have been sorted through and sifted through. And there's shoes, there's coats, there's pants, there's work clothes, you name it, books, all kinds of furniture gets donated there, and it's a year-round operation, and it's really impressive to see how they do that. And they've started a community garden out next to the thrift store in the past year or so. And, that's been another part of the ministry, is having fresh food and vegetables to be able to offer to those who come and are coming from the community, but needs stuff that is priced well and cheaply, and that's an asset, and it's a ministry itself.
Absolutely.
And I'll add also, like even the vision services and the glasses, and this was established early on because of the dentistry clinic, but it's not free.
Right.
Yeah, it costs a lot of money.
You know,
Doesn't it?
but it doesn't cost a lot of money.
Okay.
I mean, we wanted them to feel like they were investing in their care, that they were
Yeah.
investing
Right.
in something that they're just not given and they just can do with. I mean, the people that come back, especially when they come back, and you see people year after year, you know, they take pride in a pair of glasses that a lot of us are just
Right.
flinging around, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
And so they do pay, and they do pay at the dental clinic too. So there's an investment in what they're doing.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, I was told when I first came about the dental clinic, and if you were going to talk about this later, but the desperation of people is they'll show up at 4:00 in the morning, lined up to see the dentist. Now, the way Greg's doing it now, it's a little more calm. You know, I remember the first time we actually worked the dental clinic and the vision clinic one time. I don't know if you were there, but when we first started even the vision clinic, people would get there at 6, 7 o'clock, wanting to be first.
Yeah.
And we didn't even start till 9, and the hallways would just be lined. And then the one time I came, that the dental clinic was operating too. Oh my! Every hallway was lined with chairs, and just people would wait, and they would wait because, especially with the dental, they were desperate. They were hurting. So
Yeah. Anything to help them.
it was that much of a need.
During the volunteer years that I was there, it became a common thing to ask my first patient of the day, "What time did you arrive?" There's a gate there that's closed and locked, and the gate's not open until 8 in the morning. And we normally go home at 4 in the afternoon, and I think at that time they may have been closing at 5. But the longest that I ever heard that a person waited to be first in the dental clinic, because it was first come, first serve, is they parked on the side of the road in rural Obion County at 5 o'clock on Thursday night to be the first in line at 8 o'clock on Friday morning. And I mean, that was the longest period of time, but I mean, I don't think that I ever had a first patient of the day that I saw that had not been outside that gate at 3 in the morning.
And I think it's better now the way we're doing it because it's just more calm and you can talk to people more. There's more conversation, and you're not just trying to wade through the masses sometimes. So, but that's how important, that's how much of a need there was for that.
Yeah.
So, obviously, well, when the time this comes out, we're recording this the Wednesday before that. It'll be about a week or so after the tornado happened. Obviously, that was a crazy, crazy tornado, and it damaged a lot of places around here. How has that impacted y'all? And how can people respond to that? Like the tornado damage and all that. How can they kind of help y'all in a way?
I think the one thing I would point towards is these nonprofits, and Reelfoot is a nonprofit connectional ministry supported by the United Methodist Church. So is the United Methodist Committee on Relief, UMCOR, are ways as a connectional church that we can support things 24/7, 365. And that's, I know folks really want to reach out and do something tangible right now for tornado victims. And I think we're going to have opportunities for years to come to do that in this neck of the woods. And I think folks right now, more than anything, the organizations need support monetarily. And that's how, and from what I've heard from folks any organization that does disaster relief, or they do, thrift stores, they do food banks, they're always going to need monetary donations. And
It's kind of like last week when we were talking about with We Care. They're always needing stuff. Like, no matter what it is, no matter what happens. I mean, it could be sunny and like 3 o'clock and be perfect weather outside. I mean, they're always like, We Care and y'all always need something. So,
we've been in communication with UMCOR through this disaster relief, and it's by the mindset of this ministry is not just when a disaster relief happens. There's so many resources that have to be ready. Mm-hmm. And we've been talking to them, and some of the ways that we can help them is giving them the resources they need when the things they already have run out. They're always ready, but that supply, whatever it is going to run out. Mm. And so we're not supplying things that they don't have. We're supplying things that, in the inevitability that those things are going to be used by someone that needs it. And that's, that's how it feels to me, that's the concept, the mindset that we all need to share, and those who are listening, that it isn't just the immediacy of a need, it's the realization that these needs are here all the time. It just so happens that they have been massively, exponentially increased in the moments of disaster.
Right.
In the warehouse in Baldwin, Louisiana, they've got pallets and pallets of disaster relief supplies ready to go. Been in there before, and it looks like it's well stocked. Well, you have a tornado or a hurricane come through, and those supplies are diminished immediately.
Yep.
Right.
So I would agree that right now the most immediate need would be to financially support these folks, because where that there are supplies available and there are teams available and they consume things, they need to be restocked.
Yeah. Well, and kind of going along to what you just said, financially it's so important in the immediacy of it, because this church can create a drive for the things they need, but we're going to have to put that out in emails and letters and say it'll take time to collect all those things. Whereas in the moment of now, financial contributions go so much farther, because you need it now. You don't need it you need it in a week, but you really need it right now.
Yeah.
Which shows you the power of the connectional church, the Methodist Church.
Absolutely.
Is.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think another thing, I've seen the gifts and graces of this church over the past 5 years, and one thing I think we're good at is feeding folks, and we're going to have the opportunity to host numerous teams. We have someone staying here tonight, and we're
Absolutely.
Somebody came in to give us the key back because they brought food to feed a team that's going to be here working in the conference for
and we learned of that probably 7 hours ago.
Yep.
Wow.
And so that's another way, as church members at Martin First, or as the district or Weakley County churches, we can support folks who come in here who are trained and ready to go out into these disaster areas.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's been a team from the Tennessee Western Kentucky conference that's been in Dresden today. And these folks have come from Huntington and Paris and McKenzie, and they'll be back tomorrow.
Yeah.
And for days to come.
And it's something to say, when you have when you're in the moment of people's depthness of brokenness. I mean, they're at the bottom of where they've been, and some have been at the bottom, and that what they thought the bottom was is farther.
Right.
It's interesting what happens to you when you're dwelling in the same spaces as them. I mean, that's a testament that the groups are coming back tomorrow. How could you not? How could you not? Even if you needed to take a day off work, how could you not come back? because you see just this is humanity needing humanity.
Yeah.
You were asking about, as far as like glasses, it's I guess we could add too, Robert Craig, who's the director at Reelfoot, is I think he's the coordinator for the region for the response. So, it's easy to know him. You have his text, you just say, if anybody needs anything.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's true.
Anything additional? Any additional thoughts whatsoever?
No, but I would add, if you've never been out to Reelfoot Rural Ministries, go there. Go see the folks that help operate it and volunteer.
Yeah.
Maybe you do a 3 weekend retreat where you can get a volunteer opportunity. You can go volunteer in the thrift store. You can volunteer in the food bank. Those are some things that are always needed, and you can always make that happen.
Yeah. Anybody can help.
That's right.
Yeah.
I would like to add one thing about the dental program. The mission area focus for Reelfoot Rural Ministries is Obion, Lake Dyer, and Fulton County, Kentucky. But when they started that expansion of the dental program a couple of years ago, it opened the dental program up to people who qualify from a financial standpoint to any person in any county in the state of Tennessee that's 65 or older.
Wow.
Or 60.
Yeah.
And so as long as that program runs, that ministry has been expanded for the time being, and it's something that COVID diminished the opportunities to announce it and to go to places and to encourage folks at senior citizen centers in a broader area than what people have been used to Reelfoot Rural Ministry serving. And so I've had folks that have come from many surrounding counties, but still the word is not out there that possibility of them coming to Reelfoot Rural Ministries for that service is an opportunity.
The Gospel of Matthew, towards the end of it, this is before Jesus' crucifixion, it says that he went to the level place. And you hear in the beginning of it him going to the mountains and giving sermons from an elevation higher. And then, and it's just symbolism, but he met them at the level place, the place of level, the place where all are in the same height as one another, which you can bring out of that. And Matthew's a great storyteller, and you can bring out of that maybe what Matthew was partially saying in there is introducing a story by saying we are going to meet one another at the level place. Is that, and until the work is completely level for all people, we have like we said last week, we have a birthright as children of God to pursue a life full of joy, and so does our neighbor. And if you're pursuing, if we catch ourselves feeling that we're pursuing a life full of joy, yet our neighbor has not made it there yet, or would have to say, I disagree, then we haven't actually fully pursued it yet. And it's that's what the work of Reelfoot's doing. It's leveling the place.
Meeting people where they are is the level place, and that's a means of grace.
Mm. Yeah.
And the opportunity, even for our church, I mean, I've been on a global mission, and it's a wonderful thing. I think it spurs you on. I think the good thing about global missions is going to other countries, is it even makes you want to do more at home.
Yeah.
But it's amazing when you drive up sometimes and there'll be somebody from Nebraska, a group from, and this is their place, this is where they come to, and it's right in our backyard.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That road. I always want to talk about that road. You know, one of the first years I was there, I was driving back one day, and if you've never been on that road, I can't. I'm not a transportation logistics person, but I think that is the Dragon's Tail of West Tennessee. I got my first kidney stone from that road.
Oh man.
But you know, it's kind of the word allegorical. It's a windy road. It's a dangerous road. You can fall off and end up in a kudzu bed, and nobody would find you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's twists and turns. It's a difficult journey. But when you get there and you pull in the gates, it's a great place.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful place. And I'm not trying to build up Dr. Greg Moore here, but, you know, to me, he's kind of the epitome of what Reelfoot is. It's grace, it's kindness, gentleness. It's almost like the fruits of the Spirit somewhere.
Yeah.
I've read that before. And that's just a wonderful place, and he represents it well, and he represents our church well.
Absolutely.
Really. Yeah, I mean, he really does.
Russ, every day, every Friday that you're there, that we're there, is a gift. And those people who are there 5 days out of the week, and the stories that you and I hear when we return, we know it's a place of grace.
Definitely.
And even being here, you know, we could have asked one of y'all to represent, you know, We Care. But the sharing of each other's stories and your perspectives and your experience, both through different times and in the same time, have offered things that we're sharing from different angles of how this is what Dr. Gilliam said. It's a connectional ministry. We should be connecting each other's stories to the point where we have to hear them again. We have to live them. We have to learn how that story came about and what can I do to live into a story like that.
We have to share our stories.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we, like Gordon Morris, offered a ride. It was his outreach that opened our eyes.
Yeah.
And as Russ talks about going to places far away and serving there, just like what he said, every time you come home, your eyes are a little bit more acute to the needs that are closer.
Yeah. And the simplicity of Gordon Morris just sharing a ride and what it does, what it opens. Because we all have that ability.
Mm-hmm.
We all have that. We share that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we'd like to thank all y'all for coming on the show today. Thank you. No problem.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing
Thank you.
all that, because I mean, kind of like what I said last week with We Care, you know, y'all are truly like awesome, like at what y'all do, and you know, without like Reelfoot Rural Ministries, you know, I mean, I couldn't think about what the world could be, you know it. So you know, what y'all do is awesome. So, you know, just need more people like that in the world, really.
And you know, when the story is shared,
Yeah.
we don't know what'll
Yeah,
happen.
right.
We don't
Yeah,
know
we
what'll
don't know
happen.
what'll
But
happen, yeah.
my gosh, when you
Yeah.
hear of what human beings need,
Right.
that are your neighbor. I mean, literally, physically your neighbor.
Yeah.
But also when you talk about short-term and long-term mission trips, these are stories that impact you, and those they might impact you and sit on you for a few years, or they might immediately make you stand up, but they're no doubt going to affect you.
Yeah. Well, that will do it for this week. Next week, Brian and I will be looking at what's ahead from the table, what to expect after Christmas and New Year's, and we might even talk about some of our favorite when it comes to the Christmas season. So stay tuned for that. I'm Kadin.
And I'm Bryant.
I'm Justin.
I'm Greg.
And I'm Russ.
Thanks for listening to the conversation from the table.
Love of Christ be with you, friends. Thanks for listening.